Hello, I'm Amy from moonmindology.com, and today I want to talk about something a little bit different. So I use astrology for everything, really. If I can get a date and a time and a location, I'll check cars, weddings, first dates, anything. I started practicing Vedic astrology in 2021, and I rescued my cat from the RSPCA in 2020, and I'm sad to say that she has passed away at the age of 12, and I feel really hard done by about it. And of course, we live and we learn, and hopefully through this experience we can adopt pets on a day nothing like the day I adopted her. I'm not sure of her birthday, but on her microchip it said 3rd of December 2012, so that was when I gave her lots of hugs and treats. But the date that I know is the day and around about the time that I adopted her. Now, I know something about astrology. The first thing I see in her little chart is the ruler is debilitated, and that is terrible for her health overall. Also, this is the moon, it's happiness and comforts. However, you know, we have the first ruler in the 5th, and everyone commented that she was the happiest cat that anybody has seen. So there was some relief there, but she was also constantly suffering with stomach problems, and she was always being sick. She had bowel disease, and on top of that, in November 2024, she was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism, and that's when she went into the dasha of Saturn and the Sun. Before that, she was in Saturn Venus, and Saturn is Marika planet, but it's very strong, so that was kind of keeping her going. Venus is the 10th and rules the 11th and the 4th. So 11th is ultimate healing and positivity. And during her last dasha, I was training her to use buttons, and I did post some videos on Facebook, and she got 1,000 views. So well done, my little Sumi-san. I'll give you a link to her YouTube channel and the description if you are interested. You know, I made it more for me and my family, so don't expect anything life-changing on there. It's just wholesome cat content and general idiocy, really. So moving on to her death. She died 20th of February 2025 at 8:10 p.m. And when she passed, we had Saturn at 24 degrees of Aquarius, and Sumi's Neptune is here in the 8th house. And the 8th house is very strong by means of transit, and her death was quite mysterious. She moved into the subdasha of the Sun in November when she started her thyroid medication. It all started really well, but I should have seen this come in. The Sun rules the 2nd house, and this is the dasha of 2 Marika planets. And one of them is transiting the 8th of chronic disease. And we also have the Sun transiting Mercury, which rules the 12th house. I should have seen this, but, you know, who wants to see something so awful? Even if I did see this, it wasn't going to help me prepare for the grief. And the only thing that it can do is let me know that all my attempts to save her were in vain. And I'm not really sure what happened, and with that Neptune, I doubt that I ever really will. We thought we got her medication right, and then she developed eye problems as well, glaucoma, which we know her 12th house is activated with Rahu in it, and it was the left eye. So yeah, she developed glaucoma, and we tried to treat it, but she just lost more and more weight and eventually passed. So our 2 Marika planets are in the 8th house, linked with the 12th from Mercury. Pluto is directly opposite her ascendant, and the moon was on her natal moon as well. So what do we learn from this? The time that you adopt your pet is important, and it can be used to determine if you will have a short or long experience with them. Of course, we will never have a perfect chart, and everyone does have to die eventually. So how do we get the best? How do we do this? First of all, the ascendant, that's the body. You want it to be in as good dignity as possible and not aspected by malefics. as well as in a good house, ideally in the 1st, 5th or 9th triconal houses, or in a Kendra house, 1, 4, 7 or 10. I would prefer a triconal, as that's blessing, and I believe that the chart ruler being in the 5th was what made our bonds so utterly fantastic. On a note of health, which can be seen from the 6th house, now you want malefics in your 3rd, 6th, 10th and 11th houses, because these are upachaya and they get better over time. 2 malefics in the 6th isn't great, but it acts as a bit of protection to her overall health, especially with Jupiter in its own sign here. But that doesn't mean it's going to necessarily protect your pet, but it does give some protection. After all, she lived a total of 12 years and almost 5 years with me. So what is this house telling us? Rule of the 6 tells us where the body is weak. 6th house is the digestive tract, and that is indeed where she had a lot of problems. And then we have this combination of Mars, Jupiter and Ketu. Ketu makes me think of mysterious illness as well as toxicity as drugs, including pharmaceutical drugs. So she could have had some problems with her medication. But when we factor in Mars, this is accidents and problems within the blood and muscles. So then we have Jupiter, which expands and maximizes it all. And I think she may have developed a blood cancer. My vet did say it was probably lymphoma, which is blood cancer, or a common cat cancer. And here we are with a confirmation in the adoption chart. Ultimately, there were a lot of signs to say that she was inevitably going to pass away on that day, and I was powerless to do a thing. And it's, you know, it's the cruel hand of that fate, and I suppose in some respect that absolves some guilt. I often battle with the concept of fate due to my practice in Vedic astrology, and you can watch fateful events play out all the time. For instance, my moon is at 26 degrees of Aquarius in Purva Bhadrapada. Saturn is currently going over that point, so I knew there would be a lot of sadness for me at this time. I just didn't think that it would be my cat. I'm also an Aries ascendant, and this is why reading your own chart is incredibly difficult, because you're full of bias for your own life. You want good news. And for an Aries ascendant, the moon rules the mother, and I refused to believe that my mother would become ill. I just thought, oh, me and mum are going to be going through something at the same time. But she is ill, and my cat passed away. Also, one of my guinea pigs passed away. So this is why I haven't been able to upload that many videos, because Saturn has been really battering my moon, and it has been super sad. So just bear with me for a little while. So I'm just trying to climb my way back into life. It's been very overwhelming. And it's also been the height of my sati. And this has been really intense and rough. And like a Saturn return, this is a point of change, and you have to lose things to open up new doors sometimes. But hopefully this has helped you understand that the day that you adopt an animal is really important. So make sure the ascendant is strong. Minimise links to Dasthanas if you can, especially the 1st and 6th houses, as they are important when you adopt the pet. And make sure that moon and sun are in good dignity, as they are very personal planets as well. And also, if you have sick pets, check your own chart to see if you have any sadness, because this can be an aspect, you know, to your moon from Saturn. And if you adopt a pet when Venus or Jupiter is on the ascendant, it's said to be very protective. So I'd always try and get that in. But what I will say is that I have adopted some kittens. I believe that Sumi sent them to me as well. So let's look at the birth chart. I didn't get much of a choice with the time, but it's much better than Sumi's adoption chart. So the ascendant is in the 7th house. So this, again, it's in an angle. We have the moon in the 5th, so it's happy cats, but we do have a little bit of affliction from Mars as well. Venus is exalted in the 8th, but this can make for a very charming pet. However, the 8th is chronic disease, so I do have to look out for the reproductive organs. But we don't have a confirmation on that from the 6th Lord. The 6th Lord is Saturn, and it goes to the 7th. And it gets Mula Trikona and Digbala. So this should give solid health for the most part, even if the 6th house is affected by Mars and Ketu. It is uplifted and protected by Jupiter. So we have to be careful of accidents, poisons. And the interesting one is the Parivartana Yoga between Venus and Jupiter. How does the 10th house play out for a cat? I'm not really sure. We'll have to see. Maybe they need their own TV program. But we don't always have the power to pick when we will adopt a pet. But if you have a good chart and you have the opportunity, I would say jump. You know, don't do what I did and adopt a pet when the ascendant is in Cancer and the moon is debilitated. You don't want that. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye.